Hello everyone, salam, namaste, shalom, and I hope that you are good, doing well in peace wherever you are. So, welcome to this episode of Borderless Commerce. So, I have today, and you would see him as a very special, expert with me on this podcast. That's AJ. He is joining from Bath, the land of tomatoes, and I'm joining from the land of tomatoes, which is him in England and I am in America, New Jersey. So welcome everyone. Hey AJ, how are you?
I'm doing good, my friend. How you doing?
I am well. AJ, the very important question, right, of this podcast is how do I look?
You look fantastic, my friend. You look fantastic. I'm jealous. I should put a jacket on, shouldn't I?
Yeah. Because jackets normally are not my things, and next episodes I tend to want to change this attire, but I really wanted to ask. You're the second person who said yes. My wife, it was not very. She was not very excited about this. So anyway, we are here.
Next time we can switch. I'll wear a jacket. You can wear a jumper.
And you know what? We could basically start a mutual praising committee too between you and me, right? And I keep praising you, vice versa, and the world remains a happier place.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
So, AJ, you and I, we both now know each other for a few years, right? And we started this conversation around the commerce journey, the growth journey, etc. And we actually have met at a very interesting place online, nothing dodgy per se. We actually have worked in terms of, how could we help technologically to business to grow, and you have been a guru for a very long time helping businesses across continents. How do they grow, and how do decision makers or a business or a brand basically go beyond a border, right? And this is one of the reasons that our podcast is called Borderless Commerce. So if I, delve into this conversation further, I mean, how do you identify yourself as a professional, or if I basically, when do CEOs are willing to basically loosen up their budgets or divert their budgets to you, right? Or hire someone like you? How is that?
Sure. So, I'm essentially a growth consultant for e-com companies, and so I've had multiple e-com companies myself, and so I have a strong background in whether it's marketing, which is kind of my strongest point, or whether it's ops, whether it's logistics, whether it's product. And so I essentially help brands understand where the roadblocks are and what they need to do to overcome them. And because I can talk in the language of finance or I can talk in the language of marketing, I am quite diverse in what I can bring to the table. But also, and I think this is why we get on, I don't see what I do as just marketing or just ops or just. I see what I do as kind of general consulting, and that I'm able to bring a different perspective to the party through actual hands-on, life experience.
So in a way, if I translate that in my own words, it will
Please.
be when the decision makers of the brands, they want to transition from one orbit to the other, right? This could be, when you are, for example, stagnant at maybe, an X, or let's call it $5 million a year,
Yeah.
and you want to move to $10 million or $50 million, you're stuck for a long time, and you want to basically move to $100 million, right? So,
Yeah.
or maybe another transition would be, going from one territory to another, going through the growth patterns, etc. This is one of the most, I think, very critical kind of transition, because businesses, they tend to keep doing one thing and they basically achieve certain success, and then they get stuck because their whole ecosystem, their teams, their resources, their approach, that is so much well oiled for that given stage. but they do not know what to do for the next one, right? So that is very important.
I think it's also hard if you're running a successful business. The other challenge is you got momentum, and it's very easy to lose momentum. It's very easy for momentum to dissipate if you're not reactive and you're not proactive. I think a lot of people don't understand that if you're trying to grow something and you've got a team that's already at capacity, or you've got a team that's already stretched, you don't have the skills, you don't have the resources, you don't have the budget to get to that next level. And so you're going to be playing the same, as you say, you're going to be playing the same game over year, because you don't. It's not that you lack the focus or you lack the ability to do it. You just hampered in time, people, headcount, resources. And so oftentimes, people bring me in because they're stuck and they don't know what to do. And it's not that the team doesn't have the answers. It's the team is so busy that they can't actually find the answers, or they can't find where the incremental changes are, those minute changes are, that will drive exponential growth when combined. And for me, it's not always about trying to say, right, let's go to let's go from a tier one country to another tier one country, right, US to UK, or let's go US to China, right, tier three. But maybe it's actually right. We know we've got a lot of clients in Nevada, right? How can we expand out to California, right? And how can we do that profitably, and how can we do that sensibly and methodically without losing focus on our core customer base in Nevada?
That is interesting. Absolutely. So picking from the momentum side of things, right, AJ? So,
Sure.
I mean, what are one or two, and again, so there is that vision part, right? Then there's need, and then there's a proactive or reactive kind of decision making that we are stuck. We need to go to the next stage, right? That's one. And then momentum, as you're saying, that it's another different animal to handle, right?
Yep.
So, what do you say, or what are the one or two major things that kind of lit that fire under the ass or ass? I don't know which,
Ass.
but okay. So we agree with the word, right? So, how do we basically do? What are the one two main things, and how do you basically get the brands to move in that direction and build the momentum and then carry that momentum?
So a lot of it comes back to strategy. And a lot of strategy to me strategy to me starts with, there's a couple of ways you can define it. So whether it's a winning aspiration of what you're trying to do in the market, whether it's a North Star, which is the phrase I always come back to, whether it's an outcome that you're trying to achieve, it doesn't really matter what you call it, but it's the what would life look like if we were X, right? So what would life look like if we were a $10 million business, right? Or what would life look like if we were the number one by sales volume in the hemorrhoid cream, right, industry, right? Or by burgers, right? Something very, very simple, right? And after that point, it's then trying to figure out, okay, so if we're trying to go after this goal, what does the market look like? What are individual competitors doing? How are they solving for problems? What resources do they have? And then it's about saying, okay, where are the gaps within that? And I think we both have had talks about this in the past, but a lot of people market in a very similar way. And so, we take Target, we take Macy's, for example, right? Both are dealing with different products, different demographics, but essentially the same business, right? And you'd agree, hopefully, right? Both of them are doing stores, which is retail, doing e-com, they're doing pay-per-click ads, they're doing social media, they're doing in-store promotions, they're doing mail-outs, they're marketing in a very similar way. And oftentimes, and I've observed this now for 10 years, oftentimes if you're marketing in the exact same way that your competitor is, you don't create enough light and shade between you to make what you're trying to do compelling, right?
Right.
And so, with Target and Macy's, for example, obviously their product mix is what is the differentiator, and their services is a differentiator as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for a lot of small businesses, if you're in the 1 to 2 or 1 to kind of like 4 million range, right? Oftentimes they're not as differentiated as they believe that they are, and it's because they're following what everybody else in the industry is doing. What they should be doing is looking for where the market is that is underserved,
Right.
and so that could be well, actually, right. We've got a product that actually we could repackage it and make it appeal to gamers. Where are gamers? They're on Twitch, they're on King, they're on Discord, etc., etc. Right, right. Versus saying, right, we have a coffee brand over here that we're going to try and sell to high level executives. What can we do? We can package it and we can try and distribute through Aston Martin, Bentley, Lamborghini, etc., 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 and do some really, really fascinating and interesting things with that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that can be a different route to market than saying the following what the competition are doing. So it is about looking for gaps in the market and looking for gaps that you can reach your buyers, and then figure out what's going to work for you and what is actually going to be able to let you double down, right? And not just be everything to everybody.
Right. So AJ, now, moving from one point, right? The momentum is there. Momentum is
Yeah.
being built in the way that you have put this out for us. Now, once that is being done, I mean, in terms of the D2C brands,
Yeah.
what exactly are the challenges when it comes to moving from one territory to another, right? I mean, you could talk about the regulations per se, that would be the first thing. There is also some customization and cultural play that comes into the mix, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in those terms, what will be the challenges? I just put out couple there, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
anyone
no,
could
no, no.
see.
Yeah. So I'll give my answer. And I want to hear what you think because you are the internationalist here. I'm the lonely Brit on my own little island.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And you live in 4
exactly.
different countries, so it's not like you don't have have a decent opinion about this issue.
Yeah, yeah, go
Um,
ahead. I'll follow you.
I I think regulatory wise is super important. I think a lot of people misunderstand what that means. I can give you 2 examples. So, a business that I was doing some work with last year is a smart home company, and they just badged it's UK compliant without really understanding that they need to get it tested and they need to jump through the hoops. And so when I was showing this product to distributors, they were like, "Well, we can't buy any because it's not UK compliant."
Hmm.
And obviously, having to communicate that back, is quite tetchy and quite a difficult conversation, right? I was talking to somebody the other day who sells a healthcare product that is mechanical. So there's moving parts, but it's not automated. There's no electronics, and she believes that she can just distribute it across the world, and she's got sales across the world. And I had to say to her, "Well, I'm unsure. We need to do some exploratory work around what the legislation looks like." Because you can't just go and sell products to different markets without understanding what the framework is. And so that is your first point, and that is hopefully an
Yeah.
expansion on that. I think culturally, what people don't get is that cultural is a very dynamic thing.
Yeah.
And so there's a hardware store where I live, right? And then
Yeah.
literally in the next city, and it's called proper job, right? Which
Okay.
is local slang for a job done well, right?
Okay.
If you go 20 miles outside that little area, right, nobody has a clue what that means because it's local slang,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you have to
Yeah.
explain it to them, and by the time you explain it to them, they don't get the joke. And it's play on words,
Yeah.
right, based on local slang, right? And so you imagine trying to export that across different countries, right?
Yeah.
The the other one that comes to mind is Dick Sporting Goods, right? To an American, calling somebody Dick it makes a lot of sense. It's not offensive. If you call somebody British a dick, it has a very negative, very acidine connotation that isn't very, very positive, right?
Yeah. And this is really funny, right? So the first thing when I was saying that tomato thing, my go-to word was not a tomato, right? It was something else.
Yeah.
So I understand that, and you see on the cultural side, I have been someone who has lived in different part of the world, right? And I come from India, Pakistan, that territory. Now, that in terms of its culture, when an international kind of brand comes in, even the food and beverages, they bring in, for example, if Pizza Hut comes in, they bring in their own flavors. There would be their standard pizzas, whatever you want to call them, but they will still bring in some tikka, some kind of gravy, and they will pick that up. On the D2C, on the brand side of things, you see there is a marketing and growth side of things, which is primarily when you have to localize your marketing efforts. You have to localize them, and when you say localize, it do not happen in silos. I mean, it's not that you're gonna do, for example, shalwar kameez in Pakistan and start doing sari in India, and this is the localization part. That does not happen. You gave a very good example of understanding the culture, because when you're expanding from one territory or from one culture to another, there has to be some kind of a merger as well. So people see how do you basically are bringing the best of your world, the best of this world that already is there, and then move it ahead. Because at the end of the day, it will be very hard for an international expansion entity to go and start doing better than the locals in their own culture straight away, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be a nurture, there has to be some stabilization kind of a time there too. Now, bring the technology part into it, right?
Yeah.
So on the technology part, then there are some issues and tricks as well. For example, the resources that you get in one part of the world would be cheaper on some sides.
Yeah.
You will get some skill set there, you wouldn't get the other skill set there. How do you basically stitch that up with the advanced, technological territories? For example, generally the West, the e-commerce and the America, US, for example. Now, all these things, people basically see culture in terms of just, what is visible to the eyes. There's so many things which are there, which are not visible. You got to address the technological part. You, of course, got to address the team culture part. How would they work together? And then, especially, when the directions are coming from beyond, for example, directions in India or Pakistan, it's almost that region, just these two countries are almost, 1.6 or 1.7 billion people, right?
Yeah,
So this is a territory that cannot be missed.
Yeah.
Now, if you are giving and setting up the directions from, for example, somewhere from New York, so you got to be privy of all these things. Culture could not be only seen in terms of a solution, hiring someone from that territory, and this is it. This does not happen. It's more complex. It's more multilateral than what it seems like.
I think it's also the underlying nuance, right?
Yeah.
And so
that's a good way of putting it. Yes.
I can think of a few examples. I think so. A meme that I saw multiple times last year was, it said American, giving birth. I'll be, I'm away from emails right now, but I'll be back in the next half an hour, right? British person, I'm on maternity leave. I'll be back when I'm back, right?
Yeah.
Right? And it's that whole kind of thing of US is obviously highly competitive, China is highly competitive, to the degree that America isn't anymore, right?
Yeah.
But then you have people, the Muslims who take Friday afternoon off to go pray, right? or what that religious expectation to have their weekend on a Friday and a Saturday, right? You'd have the Jewish folk around the world who stop at sundown on a Friday and don't restart till sundown on a Saturday, right? And so if you look at a Jewish business, for example, they'll say 24/6. Not 24/7, 24/6. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's a cultural thing, right?
Yeah.
So again, when I'm dealing with Middle Eastern clients, I'm aware that, contacting them or Far East, contacting them on a Friday or a Saturday probably isn't going to get me a response. Where I contact them on a Sunday, they'll probably respond. And actually, I always say to people, for me, the cultural element is that, and I may be messaging you or WhatsApping you or whatever, because it's present in my mind. It's not that I'm expecting you to respond right now. But lots of cultures see that as a very offensive thing, because you should only be contacting people between X and Y, on these set days, or if they get a message, they have to respond because that's culturally, and so it's about trying to understand the nuance and trying to understand the difference of how people behave.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, so I've done quite a bit of work with Romanians, right? And they're lovely, lovely, lovely people, right? But people over 40 in Romania grew up under Soviet conditions. So they'll be very direct, very, very short with you. And if they don't want to answer, they'll say no, or they'll say right. And so I've had dealings with people from Romania and from, the Baltic states where they'll, you ask them a detailed question and their answer is no. Or their answer is yes. Right? Which to me as a British Westerner is highly offensive, right? Because I want them to expand on why they're saying yes or no, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But they feel that is sufficient. It's very, very similar in some parts of Germany as well. The Germans will say, right, just get to the point, tell me what you want to know, and I'll give you the most simplistic answer.
It feels like, everyone in these parts of the world have ADHD, right? They cannot get to the point. Get to the point. What do you want to say? Yeah. So, and I'll tell you, there's one very interesting. Now, these are anecdotals, and points that you and we are sharing based on our experience.
Yeah.
Now, there has been in Lahore, it's a very interesting example. Right. In Lahore, and Lahore is almost, it's 120 million. I'm sorry, 12 million.
12 million. Right, 12 million. Okay.
So, yeah. I optimized it, right? The growth optimizers. Anyway, so there was a girl, and she was a kid, 17, 18, 19 years old. And she goes and buys a kurta shirt being done by a designer in the Middle East, right? So you see in Lahore and that part of the world, people, the scripture is in Arabic. Normally there is certain respect, and people do not understand the language. Now, it came from Middle East, from the Arabic-speaking people. They actually printed some kind of a script on a kurta. She was wearing that. It somehow meant, the exact meaning was something innocent, right? I mean, beautiful or pretty or something.
Yeah.
And she went out in a bazaar, and people just kind of confused that scripture, and it was kind of, falling down on her hip area, right?
Yeah.
And people took offense, and people wanted to bloody kill her, right? That was blasphemy. I mean, it went so bad that, the whole police and, all the security forces, they had to, it's out there, right? It was a big news, that part of the world. So, I mean, I'm giving an extreme example, but this has happened, right?
Yeah.
So you got to basically be, again, this is an extreme example, but this topic is not unilateral, right? There has to be, localization. There has to be a technological localization, and all these things. But this is there, right? This is a topic I think, AJ, you and I, we can speak about it a lot, right? We come from different cultures. We have histories, and we are the people who kind of see our differences very big reason to fall in love with each other, right?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
so it's that
Yes.
part of the thing, but there are a whole lot of people, and just coming back to the topic that we are in, right?
Yeah.
You and I, we're gonna start that mutually, uh, whatever, love society.
Love fest. Yes, indeed.
So so
I just want to make one recommendation because I feel this is really super important. So, if you're trying to get
yeah.
localization done properly, or you're trying to manage a local team and you're not on the ground, find somebody that can advise you. And oftentimes they may not have to do a lot of actual work, but the value that they can bring to kind of allow you to bias what you're going to say correctly, or for you to know when is the right time to push or when is the right time to pull back. That can be worth wasting gold,
Hmm.
right? I can give you a quick example. A client of mine has a factory in Latvia, right? And it's its own separate company, and we just use them to produce goods. And we found last year that the person, the owner, was taking orders that she could fulfill, and then she was getting confused and wasn't sticking to deadlines. And because she speaks Russian, because she's in her late 50s, early 60s, and speaks broken English, she's not the most easiest of people to communicate with, right?
Mhm.
And so my plan was, well, can we find a local agent who's can just turn up once a month, right? And just bring her coffee or bring her donuts or whatever, and just just be a presence on the site, not to intimidate her or to upset anyone or to offend anyone, but so that she knows that she's working with somebody local who's trying to hold her accountable, that is the backstop, is the conduit between the different countries and different cultures, right? Because then it means that we get our goods manufactured and delivered on time, right? She knows that she's being cared for and that we care about her, that we're not just another number on a P&L, right? Or another invoice. And then she also gets the support that she can turn around and say, well, actually, because I've seen you now for the last 6 months every couple of weeks, right? We're really struggling with X. Can you, is that something you can go talk to your people about, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's often overlooked. And I think also some of the best people that I've worked with, and I think some of the best people that you've worked with, aren't the smartest, but are great people at actually having interpersonal skills and managing people in different countries and different cultures very effectively to get the outcome that we're trying to get towards. And so so if you're trying to deal with different countries or different cultures, find somebody local to that country or culture who can advise you and can go through a journey with you.
This is interesting, right?
Yeah.
And again, we should basically, I think, speak about it more, and I think on a regular basis.
Yeah.
The Mother Earth is full of different culture and people, how they do things differently and efficiently.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is very interesting. This is a topic which is close to my heart. You are, fond of this topic too. So let's have some, dedicated time to do that.
Absolutely.
I want
Absolutely.
to move AJ on this science fiction shit that we are going through, we are living, right? This 5 years ago, not 5 years. This is 25. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
5 years ago was COVID, my friend.
again, I'm going to optimize again.
You're
This is the
not
word
right.
we
Okay.
all use and at times abuse too, right? But anyway, so let's go in early 2022, right?
Yeah,
So it will be what, 2 years and some change? No,
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah. Thereabouts. Yeah. Thereabouts.
So now imagine someone coming and as productive as someone who had an access to chat gpt. For you and me, if we didn't know, it was a science fiction shit, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the standard, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm talking about three body problem, intense science fiction, right? Hard science fiction shit.
Yeah.
Now, this has, of course, evolved and this has mostly democratized, right? Um, Now, when it gets democratized, meaning that you and I and everyone else will be able to use that, and it would have, day-to-day applicability and all those things. How would this impact how do you see that this will impact our industry, right? And it will influence the growth and if there are any things. I mean, I also have some opinion on that. You go ahead, and then
Sure,
I'll
sure, sure.
chime in.
Um, you, you asked four questions in one. So
That's how I get paid.
that's how you get paid. Right, right, right. Right. I think technology has the ability for us to democratize finance. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole because that's a 3 hour
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
conversation, right? But I think people who have access to clean water and internet that didn't have 5 years ago have the ability to self-educate, have the ability to start businesses, have the ability to have a better standard of living, and to me that is always a good thing. And so I think these AI systems are fantastic for that. I think they're pretty terrible at information transfer because I think you have to have some intelligence to know what to ask it and know how to ask it in a formative way that gets you to think differently, right?
Yeah,
That said, I think I I think AI is game changing in terms of what it allows people to do and how it allows people to communicate and think and to be reactive in whatever situation. I can give you some examples. So, well, I'll just say this before I go into some examples. I think in terms of what we do, so whether it's marketing, whether it's software, whether it's development, it really doesn't matter. I think AI is going to mean that more people are being strategic, and there's going to be less people actually doing work, and therefore, I'm concerned with the people that aren't smart or haven't invested in thinking more broadly, because I think that they're going to really struggle in this new paradigm. Because a lot of their activities and a lot of their actions will be taken over by somebody that can do it at a fraction of the cost and the speed.
yeah. So, I mean, at a high level, spot on, right? And this is pretty brilliant. But in terms of, if you ask me, if we kind of, move from 50,000 feet to maybe 10,000 feet, in our universe, I think the consumers' expectations are shifting, and
Yeah.
it used to be basically change every 5 years, every 10 years, right? But
Yep.
they were all predictable. But now the target is, in terms of the expectation, it's moving pretty quick. It's shifting a lot now. Consumer, they want an experience maybe on the website or whatever multi channels have been used. They, number one, want it connected, and number two, if they're on your website or maybe on the app, the expectation around here is that the shoe will fit, right? Or and the experience needs to get more real. They also expect now, and this is really tricky, that the expectation from them also is that I've been using this website or this app for a long time. Why do you not send me the things that I really want, right? So they expect you already that you will be using some kind of AI to analyze browsing patterns, purchase history maybe,
Yeah.
whatever engagement data is there to be consumed by the brand to tailor the product recommendations, right? And that is a shift which is coming pretty quick. And then pricing strategies. Again, this is not just you know us in the business. Some few folks on the pricing part, they are just thinking this sells well, keep this. This doesn't sell well, so just give a discount or whatever. The pricing strategies now need to be very dynamic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Very, very dynamic. So how does machine learning, it kind of, and AI for that matter, would enable the real-time pricing adjustments, right? Based
Yeah.
on the demand, based on the inventory levels, based on, the
Or
customer
market
behavior, and
factors.
based on, supply
Market
chain
factors.
availability,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
so these are few examples that, and this is not something that this behavior we are seeing and there's a data by a research firm coming in and this will happen in 20 whatever. um, this is happening right now as
Yes,
we
yes.
speak, right, every
But
moment.
I think the biggest problem is with technology is the rate of application, and that annoys me because as a consumer, I think of everything as me being a consumer. Right? I don't think of me as being a marketer or me being a technologist. Right? So I always think, right, why can't I go on to say Cadbury's? Right, I'm just using a random example, right? And I can say, right, I'm trying to buy for my 6-year-old niece's birthday, and I've got a budget of $20 to spend, right? And it spits out three different products within that price range, and I can do a live chat, and I can do live viewings or whatever, right? Because we have all this technology, and I think oftentimes, oftentimes people that are like the futurists, right, aren't able to communicate effectively the business case of making these changes until it's far too late and everyone's doing it.
Hmm.
And so I know lots of businesses are using AI, they are using technology that's highly advanced, but I don't see enough of that doing it. And I remember talking to somebody 18 months ago, 2 years ago, whose product was VR for a furniture store, and it's game changing, right? So you walk around your living room with your phone, and you go like that, right? Blah blah blah, and then it scans the room and it puts the sofa within that
Yeah, yeah.
virtual, right? And it's absolutely game changing. Have I seen anyone in the UK using it? No. But so this is my frustration: is we have all this great technology and it seems to be very very niche in terms of what people are actually doing. Because I'm old enough to remember, and you probably are old enough to remember when it was live chat. They went to bots and live chat on the back of it, right?
Yeah.
And we still have very very clunky live chat bots, right? We don't have live chat bots that can go polite information. I know we do. I know we absolutely 100% do. But again, it's the adoption of the technology that we have. We all know is possible. It's just the rate of adoption is so low. And again, that annoys the hell out of me because I'm thinking we have all this great technology again that can democratize countries that aren't, can raise the standard of living across the world, and yet it seems that we are being intellectual nihilists about it. Right? We're sat here going, well, we're too big and too proud because we've got this technology, and so, and again, we're again, like with every other topic that we talked about so far today, it's a whole 3-hour conversation. It's
Yeah.
it's not something we'll solve, but that to me is the key thing. And how can we build technology that is advanced, that is the latest gen, that people can adapt and can use and can try, and that the consumer can understand that the benefit instantly is. And I don't know how to solve that problem, but I do believe that technology is the equalizer, regardless of where you are in the world.
Yeah, and it's again, we're gonna keep talking, right?
We are indeed.
And it's the scary parts there, the applicability part is there, the the whole global scene is kind of getting very interesting.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so we will see all these topics coming into
Yeah.
each other, right? And
Yeah.
this is gonna impact not only this conversation that you and I we are having as professionals, but I think this is something that's gonna come into our existing lives
Yeah.
and then the future generation and how humans would live, interact, or whichever way and form dwell this planet and beyond. So this is very interesting. Maybe we can build a whole institute. I live. I'm not very far from Princeton University, and I'm sure they already have an institute. If not, that we can build that on this topic. Just discussing that.
Fantastic. Well, when you make your millions, you can bequeath them some money to do the
Yeah,
Mohammed
yeah.
Masood School of Future Thinking.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put this, the A.J. Saunders Institute of Future Thinking, right? We're gonna
Love
give
it, love it, love it, love it.
AJ, lot to discuss. We will
As
keep doing
always.
that. For the people who are watching this, you will be seeing AJ and myself on this pretty regular, and we will be bringing in amazing people, amazing SMEs who have delivered. They are thought leader in their space, and we will be grilling them. We're gonna basically ask them to provide what exactly is the present and the future is gonna look like, right? Many interesting conversations to come in.
Absolutely.
I'm very happy to be here, AJ, with you.
Oh,
Thank you
100%.
very much for your
Likewise.
time. And next time, you know what? You got to thank me. All the pleasantries that I'm doing, you got
Well,
to
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that we're having these incredibly important conversations. I don't think anyone could have the conversations that we're having. I think it's very pertinent to me and you. So
yeah.
I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad we're doing this together. And next time I'll wear a jacket so I look just as handsome as you do.
Yeah. Okay. So my jacket feels good, right? My jacket feels.
I think it looks very, very good, sir.
Okay. So thank you very much, everyone. AJ, thanks very much.
Oh, my pleasure.
And see you in next episode of Borderless Commerce. Thank you very much,
Absolutely.
everyone.
Yeah.